Hi, Ian Coulter Buford. Welcome back to Illinois Wesleyan virtually for Auditions class. It's so exciting to see you. I will say we're fortunate because you're the first guest that we're having into the class that has actually worked with the students recently. So since you were co-choreographer for The Life, there's I would say about 40% of the class has had some sort of encounter with you before, and that's awesome. And they're really aware of you. So you and I are going to chat, and we're just going to, go through some conversation, and then we'll open it up to them for a Q&A.
Okay, that sounds
So,
great. Hi, everybody. I can see everybody in gallery view.
yeah. Okay. Awesome. So here we go. I've been starting these kind of guest talks with, particularly if you're an alumni guest, with let's talk about your experience at Illinois Wesleyan specifically, because that's something you have in common with them. And I want to talk about particularly what were some successes and failures and highlights and low points while you were a Wesleyan student. I think it's important that we don't just talk about the successes, but also about some things that maybe didn't work for you. And we can talk about whether you think it prepared or didn't prepare you post-graduation. But let's talk about that first so they get a sense of who you were and how you spent your time while you were here on campus like they are.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. Okay, yeah. So you want to talk about like career wise, like
Well, yeah, I mean, let's talk about however you want to frame it. You could talk
okay.
about like this was a great moment in the classroom, or maybe it was on stage, or what are some highlights and lowlights or low points of your experience at Wesleyan? What comes to mind?
Um, I guess the first and foremost for me is Pippin. I did Pippin my sophomore year, and I was a leading player then, and that was for me. That was my first lead ever. And it showed me that I could carry a show. Like, okay, cool. I have confidence and I have the ability to be able to carry a show. Granted, it was very me, and it was easy because it was me. Um, but I had never done anything like that before, and it was just like, cool, you can do this. You can totally carry your show. You have the confidence to do that. So like that was the biggest thing for me, and a nice confident booster. Not enough to like blow my head up, just enough to just be like, okay, you can do it. Okay, cool. I can I can do this. Just because of like, back in the day, it wasn't a lot of black leading men. So to have that confidence to be like, okay, I can carry a show. So that was like the biggest thing. Another thing that comes to mind is Hello Again, the significance of that was my senior year. So sophomore year doing leading player and then the senior year being the senator in Hello Again, somebody that's way beyond my years who I would not play until I'm like 40 or 50. But it helped to just ground me as an actor. It helped to really like, you don't gotta do I used to do a lot. I used to do so much. It used to be a lot. And and it pulled me back to be like, you don't have to do all that. It can be right here. It can be right here. It's all about obviously playing the objective and playing the truth of the character and what exactly what they want, and that's all you need. You don't need the hoopla. You don't need the. I mean, there are some characters who require that, but that specifically showed me that like you don't need all that for everybody. Um, so that was a big one for me. And having sex on stage, that was weird, considering like I
Yes,
mean,
for me as well.
yeah,
Having
I
directed,
mean for
yeah.
all of us, we were just like, what is happening right now? And then like my parents coming to the show, and that actually kind of it helped me to know my boundaries. Like I was a big just coming from like a church background, so a lot of
Right.
things were very new to me, and like I'm like I don't help me to know my boundaries as a human, as an actor, and how far I will go, how far I won't go. Because some people choose not to do that, and that's okay. But knowing that is half the battle. And when, especially knowing that in school and before you get out there, is easier because you won't be taken advantage of because you know exactly what you're like. No, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm doing. Point blank. Period. So,
Right.
low things. I always felt personally, I always felt like I was a late bloomer in music theater. I didn't really take it, I won't say take it seriously, but I didn't take it seriously as my career until about junior year of high school. A lot of people, I think, I knew I wanted to perform, I just didn't know in what capacity. But I was like, music theater, okay, I could do this as a career junior year of high school. And I always felt like I was catching up. I always felt like I wasn't really worthy or like worth it, um, until I got out of school, unfortunately. But I always felt like I was like catching up, and I always felt like I was just like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. In reality, I was okay. I was okay. It wasn't like it wasn't until about the last year,
Yeah.
that last semester, where everything kind of clicked for me. Where I was like, okay, I can do this. And then when I got out, I was like, oh, we're fine. We're good. What else? Things that I had, I guess, wish had happened. I initially, when I had got to Wesleyan, I was inducted into the Alana group, if you will. I think it's Milana now. And so, um, growing up in primarily white spaces for the most part, as far as like institutions,
Right.
it was a big deal for me to find my group of and Black people or people of color. And Alana really helped me to sculpt that group. But as time kind of went on, I think it was, I don't know if it's I think it's a personal thing, but also just like time when you're in the major, when you're in the School of Theater Arts, you are immersed, you are engulfed into that thing. And so it was a little tough for me to find that balance of hanging out with my friends of color and then really staying, in the theater group, or just like, because like that's kind of what you eat, live, you breathe it. That's kind of it. And then of course obviously have like your gen eds, but like, I felt a little bit of pressure to, oh, like I want to hang out with my friends, but like there's a theater party tonight and I would love to go. And but like, yeah, and so a little perplexity in regards to having my group of Black folks that I loved, and then like also trying to be a part of the theater department. Um, because my first year I was like, I'm not hanging out with y'all, y'all crazy. Uh I'm not doing this. Um and so, and then you start getting roles and you start hanging out with people and you're like, these people are so cool and I just want to like be in this group. And so I guess that was a thing that I had wish I had worked on a little bit more. But again, it's a lot of time, and you come there to focus on your career and build something, and so you had to kind of make a little bit of that sacrifice. um I guess another thing is just like another highlight, but also like a weird low light for me was being in Tartuffe. I was in Tartuffe my second semester of senior year, and I was like, me in a French play? I don't want to do that. Um, and it just showed me that, like, okay, if you really just focus and just really do it, you're fine. I just was so scared. I was so scared, and scared to the point of it being inhibiting of really digging into the role. A lot of my peers were like, they were going in, and I was just like so amazed, and so I thought it was just so cool to just see everybody really dig into these people. And I thought like, why am I not? What is holding me back? Why am I not digging into it as well? And it was because of fear. We had like a talk back, and I got like really pissed off. I remember once we had a talk back after the show, and somebody asked me, I think it was like Tom Quinn, and he was just like, well, you know, I felt like a lot of people were really in it, and I didn't know how to express that I was scared, which probably would have been very helpful then for the whole department to hear. But I just was like, well, I don't know. I just shut down. I was just like, well, I don't know. I don't know. And just kind of like stay quiet the rest of the time. But but yeah, it was a highlight that I didn't know it was a highlight, because it just kind of showed me that I can do a lot of things, and I'm very multifaceted, and I'm not just a music theater performer, I'm an actor. And I can do French text, I can do Shakespeare, I can do it all. Which is why I loved my time at Wesleyan, because it just showed it showed me how well-rounded I am. I think a lot of people, that's a big thing about Wesleyan. It's just like I'm so well-rounded. Even off stage, like I can do a lot of things that I never thought I could. And via my education has shown me a lot of things that I can do. Yeah. So
No,
I
that's
hope that
awesome. Those are
helps.
great. So let's talk a little bit about. I mean, and it's just I'm as you're saying these things, I'm remembering so many conversations in my office with you in the crying chair. Yes, I remember these conversations. Particularly your senior year, you and I spent a lot of time together your senior year, both when you were in my production, but also when you were in Nancy's Tartuffe.
Yeah.
But let's now move beyond Wesleyan, because they got a picture of you in Wesleyan, to early career, because you had a lot of right out the gate big successes. And then you've had a very kind of normal career that has highs and lows there as well.
Yeah.
Because I think they want to, understand, they've seen your resume, they've seen your website, they know what you've done, but your take on those things and the things that you've learned and the things, because it's really important for them to hear the lessons that you've learned as you're having a life in the arts.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, yeah, right out of the gate, I remember the conversation me and Scott had about my equity card. Well, it was like it was a push and pull. I was like, no, I want to do it. He's like, no, you don't need it. And I was like, I really want it. But right out the gate, I got the Muni my summer after school. Was doing Aladdin, and that was like a dream come true because I grew up in their youth program. And so I was just like, oh my God, like this is amazing. So that's that uni. And then via my associate choreographer from the Muni, I got a tour with Theater Works, which is like the prime theater young audiences company in New York. And so I toured with them the first the fall of 2000. I graduated in 2012, by the way. So the fall of 2012,
Yeah.
yes, because yeah, fall of 2012, I did the tour with Theater Works. And then I suck at, well, not anymore, but I was horrible at money. I was horrible at money. I wish I took like a finance class or something like that, but I was horrible at money and I didn't know how to save my money, or just, I don't know. It just flew, it burnt a hole through my pocket. And so here I am at home in St. Louis. And I'm like, I don't want to be home. I want to be in New York. And so I spent a year at home, like just working a regular job and saving up. And I was like, I have to get back to New York. I have to get back to New York. I have to get back to New York. And luckily, Theater Works, I just was like, hey, I saw you guys are doing the tour again. If you just need somebody else as the same role, I'm down. They were like, oh my God, of course. And so that was like my redeeming moment to like go back on tour, go back to New York again, go back on tour, save up my money and do it correctly this time and get back to New York so I can actually live there. And then after that, I did a couple of, I did the, well, no, I did that. And then I came back to New York, audition scene, of course. And then I did an internship. I was like down. I didn't have any money. I paid my I paid my like last little money of rent. And then I was like, I need a job and I don't know what to do. And I was like, I'm not being a waiter. I'm not gonna be a waiter. I just don't have the patience for people. So I, out of the blue on Playbill, I found this internship to work at Lake Dillon Theater Company in Colorado as a patrons patrons specialist and box office assistant. And I was like, okay, I work box office with Kelly. I can do this. Let's do it. So called, got the job, flew out to Colorado literally like that weekend. And I was like, it's cool because like it's another theater company. Like I'm just showing like as long as I like work hard, they'll see that I'm a good worker, and maybe we could possibly be in a show, or like I'm like, hey, I sing just to let you know, you know. So did that for for the summer into the fall of I think 13, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, summer to the fall of 13, and got a chance to like do their cabarets, and they kind of saw like, oh, he's actually a nice performer, cool. And then fast forward to, well, hold on, no, then I did the Wiz after that, the Wiz at Mulch Jupiter, with Jennifer Warner. She's associate director of Book of Mormon. She sets them all, and Andrew Cato, who's the artistic director of Mulch Jupiter, and did that with them and had so much fun because like I was like praying. I was like, I want to be in a black show because I had never been in a black show before that, and I was like, I just want to be in a black show. I just want to be in a black show. Oh my God, wait, I did the black rep as well.
I was gonna say you did black
there.
rep too.
So that's a lie. So before then, the Wiz there, and then did the Wiz again at the Maltz in 2014, which will set me up for later. We'll see as I keep going. The Wiz, and then because I did such a good job, and they just kind of knew me from Lake Dillon, I got to be in Le Cage à Faux, their Le Cage à Faux as Jacob. And I mean, the lesson there was just, I mean, networking actually worked. And finding jobs that you wouldn't think necessarily, even though it may not be in the industry, when you need a job, you need a job first and foremost. And having that opportunity to work with them just on an administrative level got me the opportunity to work with them again as an actor, which was really cool. That Lacage, which was also great because like being a queer and blossoming as like a queer person, that really opened up a lot of things in me. Because I was very in college, I was very just like in the closet. Still, I won't say in the closet, but just figuring it out.
You were just figuring it out. I would say that's a fair way of putting it.
Yeah, I was just figuring it out and not really sure what that was for me, and that really opened up like, oh my God, like these fierce people, like I love these people. So that Lacage, and then I was in a really bad moment after Lacage. I couldn't. It seemed like I just couldn't pick anything up. I was auditioning like crazy. I didn't have an agent then, so like I was doing everything myself. And when you're doing everything yourself, it can get very exhausting, because especially if you're really on it. And so I was just in a weird state, a really not a good place. And so and I auditioned for After Midnight with Norwegian then, and I didn't get it initially. And so I was just like, oh my God, like this was like my way to get like a good amount of money, like to save, cool. And I didn't get it. And so I was just like, okay. And I was living with alum Kevin. You guys, I think, have met him then. And I was just, okay, well, I guess I was bartending at, where's I bartending at? The Steinberg Center off Broadway. And I've always kind of just had like a theater job because it's just easier to audition during the day and work at night. And so I was bartending there, and that's kind of just what it was, and just kind of in a deep moment of like a depressive moment. And then I got a call. Literally, I was on my way to a friend's birthday party, and I got a call, and they were like, "Hey, we need a replacement for After Midnight, like literally in the next 2 weeks. What's your schedule?" And I was like, "Oh, I this and this and this." The next email was a contract, and then from 2015 to what 2018, I was on the ship doing on and off non-consecutively doing After Midnight, which has been a whirlwind. It's been crazy. And then After Midnight happened, and then what else? We're going to 2019. I got my agent. After I was like, okay, we need to like set some roots in New York, and just like if I want to stay here, I'm gonna have to be here. So I got an agent via Backstage. Guys, Backstage is dope. Backstage, the playbills, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't count those out, because They have a great resources tab. I tell everybody, I'm like, they got a great resources tab that has all the agencies, the way they want to be contacted, all that jazz. And so I said, okay, I got back in, I think June. I got back in June. I said, I'm getting an agent by the end of this month. And I just literally put my energy and focus into that. And that's all I did. I do, of course, I went to auditions, but like, I was just like, I need an agent. And that's what's going to happen. And so we got an agent at the end of the month. We signed with them in July with the Mine agency. Um, and yeah, and then just started going into rooms that I had never, ever could get myself into. Um, and it was hard. It was hard as hell because you have all of these people. You have now you kind of have to step up. You have these amazing people I admire, I love and admire as performers that I've known for years. Never really met them, but just have known their work and in the room with them. And this is clockwork for them. They do this all the time. And for me, I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. And so that was really kind of weird and tough and a weird moment getting in kind of leading into it. But once I got like the stride of things started to come my way. I do a lot of like new stuff, which I think is I like it because I can just build and I don't have to be I think I'm a different. I think it's coming to fruition now as far as like baritones who are skinny, who dance. I feel like that wasn't really a huge thing. And now like people are like, okay, all right, you have more and more people who are doing that. Um, and so yeah, yeah. So all of that to just say like having an agent definitely brought some fear into me just because of the people that were coming into the room with me. But overall, once we got our stride, I was pretty cool. Got traveling, and then after traveling at Arata Center, a new show. I came in as a replacement. Don, I forgot his last name, but Donald, he like hurt himself like really badly, and so I had to come in and replace and learn the show in a week. And that was scary as shit because learning a full show, previews are next week. You have to learn a show. You have there's not Legally Blonde where I can go grab a recording and listen and be like, okay, cool, okay, this is kind of what it is. There was kind of nothing. You had and I read sheet music, but ultimately ear my ear clicks way faster than learning for sheet music. So I was like, okay, well, I got to figure this thing out. And I think it have awoken a responsibility in me to be like I have a responsibility obviously to myself, but obviously to these people who have worked so hard for the last like 2 or 3 weeks to put this show together. I have a responsibility within myself to come ready. And so that really gave me confidence in knowing that I can one learn a show that quickly, wolf, and it was a principal role, so it wasn't like an ensemble. It wasn't like I was in an ensemble. It was like it was live, and you had your own songs and things of that sort, and choreography that you had to learn. So it just gave me another boost of confidence to and another reality set or reality check to say like you can do it. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. And then after that, I did in Colorado. I did a self tape. Don't sleep on self tapes. I did a self tape for Broadway Bounty Hunter because I did The Wiz with the Malts with Jennifer Warner was the director choreographer for Broadway Bounty Hunter, and so she was like, Ian, I think you'd be perfect for this. We need a swing. It's a swing though, and I was like, okay. I've never really swung off stage before. I've done it with After Midnight, and that's obviously a little bit easier because you can say like blah 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 is over here, I'm over here. So if she's not here, then I'll step over to go over here, whatever. But so did that with Broadway Bounty Hunter, and that was my off Broadway debut in New York City, which it's a long time coming, but we got there. Yeah, so I guess all of that, most of my jobs I've gotten from the past, from other connections that I've had, whether it be directors, choreographers, or friends, or even when just like Fat Kid Rules the World, and that was like a thing I've been involved with for a very long time. That was from I did a musical called Rocket Boys, yep. And the producer and the director of Fat Kid was the stage manager for Rocket Boys. So it's just about being I'm one coming ready and prepared and giving your best self to anything, regardless of if it's a waiter job, if it's this, because you never know. You never know, especially in New York City. You never know who's around, who's watching you, who knows who. It's such a small world. And so the fact that they were just like, oh, he works hard in general, to say like, okay, cool, let's bring Ian into this, and let's because I know he's gonna do the work. So yeah. And then now we're in pandemic.
Yeah, so we've been kind of pausing this as we get to the plague, since we're all waiting to see what the Renaissance will be like. But we know it's coming. So that's a really good rundown for them. I want to highlight a little bit there, so you could elaborate a little bit on transitions,
Okay.
because you in telling both your experience at Wesleyan and your experience post Wesleyan, and I know it seemed like a long time for you to make your off-Broadway debut, but it was less than a decade, man. You're doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
And
I'm doing fine.
yeah, and I was like, you're killing it, and you're on a normal trajectory.
Yeah,
But the thing is, I want to talk about those transitions, because those are those moments when often I would connect with you, that I often do connect with our alums, where they're like, oh, Scott, I'm not getting anything. Things aren't happening. But I want to say something that was very different about you. And Kevin Shireen, who you brought up as well, who's been a roommate and a friend of yours, has this as well, where y'all both have a way of turning that around, and keeping kind of positive and motivated, and finding something to work on. Like, sometimes during those transitions, you worked on your music career. Sometimes you worked on your choreography and your dance. You always kind of found something to focus on that kept you busy. Can you talk a little bit about that with the students, about how you found that kind of resilience and that ability to be tenacious, even when you're feeling like you're not getting what you want?
That is a great question. I think I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine about this, about like where I get my tenacity. I don't know. Um, um, yeah, I ultimately I am about finding joy. I don't necessarily think that that was a thing in school for me, but as I've gotten out of school, I've found like what just brings you the utmost happiness. And for me, it had just so happened to be songwriting and music, and not necessarily in the theater canon, writing my own stuff and finding what that pop R&B moment is for me. And that brought me joy, that brought me release. This is before therapy. This has brought me just like a release of just like, okay, I'm feeling some type of way. I'm just gonna write it down. Journaling. Oh my God, countless journals in school. Who knew? So much journaling in school. Who knew that that would be a thing for me? Because I hated writing. I was like, why am I writing these journals?
Oh, I can remember walking you to the writing center. You hated writing, but yes,
My God, no. This writing, why are we writing? So I found a joy in writing. I guess specifically in journaling, and then crafting that into songwriting. Um, what else? But yeah, I think that's the utmost thing, is just like joy, finding joy, and then finding my creative, finding like my finding like the producer or the creative side of me in regards to like, you know choreography, and like what is that like. I mean, yes, we did a little bit in school. I wish I had more, but finding what that is for me, what my voice is as a choreographer, um and just kind of focusing on the other hyphenates in the multi hyphenate, and just having goals for that. I think it's just, yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know where it came from, but just like saying like, okay, well, the acting thing's not happening right now. What are the goals that I want to focus on, and what are the goals that I want to accomplish as a choreographer? Okay, these are the goals. Okay, so how do I go about doing that? Cool. I need a reel. Okay, well then that means that I need footage. Okay, well, let's get a couple friends together. Let's go to a studio. Let's tape, and let's get that together. I mean, yeah, and then of course the songwriting, and just like okay, cool. I have a little bit of money that I set aside. Let's go to the studio and just kind of put some demos down and just see what happens and how that makes me feel. It's always been a connect the dots moment for me.
I
Yeah,
would say, and I would say that you did do that in school. I mean,
yeah,
'cause, like your senior year, you were the SCDC director, and
yeah.
things
I
like
forgot
that.
about that.
You did, you know, you did find those moments, whether it was in, music theater scene study or in workshop when we did the Lacusa workshop. You found those things where you could kind of find your niche or your thing that you wanted to focus on and work on. And you would also work through acting theories. You're like, that doesn't work for me, and that doesn't work for me. So I'm trying to find the thing that works for me. So for a while, it was color, and then it was, you went through a lot of different things. So I would say that is one of your, kind of, secret weapons or superpowers is your ability to seek out progression and joyful forward motion,
Yeah,
even when it's trying, even when you feel like you're failing. So I would say that is something that you did. It's not like you learned that at school. You brought that to school.
I
That's
brought that
part of
with me.
innately
Yeah,
who you are. That's
yeah.
just kind of the Ian culture. That's the ICB quality. Um,
Fair. Thank you for the reminder, because I,
Yes. No,
uh,
you've always had this kind of entrepreneurial thing too. You've always wanted to teach a little bit on the side. You've always wanted to figure out what that side hustle was, how you can make sure you're taking care of yourself, and also, so I would say that that is something that I think you were exploring when you were in Wesleyan. I will say the thing, that I remember that big moment when you said, I finally have figured out about money a little bit because that hadn't, been something. So I remember that was something you didn't get out of school that you got post school. But a lot of these things, it may have been embryonic or nascent, but
mm,
you were exploring towards that direction.
that's fair.
So coming out of the pandemic, where do you see yourself? Because I know that this has been a struggle for everybody, right? I mean, this, when
Yeah,
last we were together during the life, you were excited about the next steps because the sky's the limit. It was all laid out there. You were just
yeah,
coming off of a big job. You were looking towards some new jobs,
yeah.
and then this hit. So, what are you seeing now as trends coming as things start to open up, as we start to look towards the future?
Personally or in general?
Both.
Okay. I'm seeing a more conscious, um, I guess for lack of a better term, theater scene. Um, because we don't have, there's no excuse anymore. It's literally right in front of you. And so if you're literally ignoring it, you're blatantly saying, I don't care. And so it's been refreshing and amazing to see a lot of my peers in the theater community here, especially in New York, who have a bigger platform to say, no, this is how I felt. I felt like this, and I no longer will have that. And I hope that people um, hold up to their word. I mean, I know for me, that's I mean, when you're new to the industry, you don't want to ruffle any feathers. You don't want to, you know what I mean. You don't want to burn any bridges. But because of this new move, well, it's not new. It's been there. But because
Right.
of this movement moving forward, um, I think that things are going to be looked at under a microscope and being like, I don't know about this person, I don't know about this person or this production. Like, and questions are going to be different. When you're, especially when you're, if you don't have an agent, what how many people, how, I don't know questions to ask, but the questions are going to be different than they used to be before. And they're going to be more
Right.
questions in regards to the character of your entity or the character of the work that you're doing, versus just like, how much am I getting paid? The usual questions. Personally, I've been, speaking of just working on things during worst moments, I've been working on or in talks with a couple producers to work on a touring show for me personally. So getting that on its feet. Currently, I'm working as a production assistant with the Tamron Hall show with ABC. And so that's also another thing to have the confidence to. That's why I love Wesleyan, because I got everything. So I was confident enough to be like, okay, I can. I've done administrative work with Kelly before. You know what I'm saying? So I had the confidence to be like, okay, I can be a production assistant, office production assistant. I mean, it's still in the entertainment industry. I'm working, thank God, and surviving. And so that has been the thing for me. I was thinking about it the other day. As far as like acting, I don't really know. I don't know. And that's okay. I'm okay with that for now. Um, I guess because I have these other things to kind of rear my focus. But it's just been about I since the pandemic I've got a manager, and so she's been really been cracking down on me to really like, hey, the industry will be opening up, so just
Right.
stay on top of it. Because like I've been also working on my mental health. I have never done therapy, and I started January of last year. And thank you. And it's been tremendous because when I left you guys, I was on a it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I was very exhausted. I don't know what exhaustion, I didn't know what exhaustion was. And I had gotten into this hard depressive state where I was very scared that I couldn't get out of that. And so I was like, I need help, I need help, I need help, and found therapy. And this year has not been, I honestly have not been like, I don't care, but I've been like, I am going to put this aside because my human needs nourishment right now. The actor can wait for a second. My human needs nourishment. And so I just kind of been like, literally for like 6 months, I was like, don't talk to me about no theater. Don't talk to me about no singing. I don't want to do nothing. I just really want to focus on me and make sure I'm okay. And so after that 6 months during the summer, I was like, okay, I can get back into it, and just started taking back voice lessons again, and just like getting into acting again because I haven't done anybody's monologue honestly since school. So my manager was like, that's cute, work on your monologues. And I was like, okay, cool. So because you want to hop into TV and film, kind of talking it through, I think that's the direction I would like to go. More exploring that side, because I've done a couple of things as like a dancer, but I want to see what that looks like for me. So
Well,
yeah.
that's good. We like a strong message on self-help. And self-care. We I'm all for that. They need to hear that more often than not, because sometimes it takes hearing it 4 or 5 times to realize that you're not going to be different if you take a little time to take care of it. I mean, you're going to be different as a person, but your type isn't going to change. They're not going to forget you if you take a
No,
little time to take care of yourself.
no.
And I will say what's been great about the pandemic, one of the silver linings of the pandemic has really been that everybody can kind of look inward for a moment and not feel like they're going to get, left behind.
That's fair.
So
That's
I think that we may all come out of this a little healthier. I hope we all come out of this a little more inclusive. I
yeah.
hope that this moment around social justice and Black Lives Matter and this kind of like really strong BIPOC moment will not lose momentum coming out of this. I think well, I'm hopeful. I've always been hopeful.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So I'm hopeful that will be true. Let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the things that's great about having you here is that you are Black and you are queer, so you can speak to a lot of things about how that has impacted or not impacted you in early career. Because I think there's a lot of BIPOC kids, and we have a lot of them in the room today, far more in our program now than when you were a student, because it was
Sure.
a very small number when you were a
It
student. We
was
worked very hard, so
really,
now it's much more expansive.
really,
Um,
no.
so they're wanting to hear from people that have a lived experience that's like theirs and that
Cool.
they recognize, to say, how has that impacted the kind of work you've done, um, and the kind of work that you see yourself doing in the future?
That's a great question. I think I said earlier I was like praying to be on a Black show because I hadn't been for a
Right.
while. But I think as far as like the queer moment, I was a little afraid to reveal that because you didn't want to get typecast.
Right.
I think that's the biggest fear for everybody with any kind of anything. Um, but I I am a cis passing male, if you will.
Right.
And there are some people whose identity does not lend itself to that, which is okay. But I think it's just a choice for you to say, I am going to mold myself for this character to get what I need to get out of it and keep it moving. Or you can make the choice to say no. And there when I got out to New York, there weren't a lot of roles for like non-binary, and we were still all just kind of figuring that out as well. So there are way more roles than there were before. And I think the beauty of the internet and everything of that sort is that because we didn't have Instagram when I was in school, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have any of that. So I guess the beauty of stuff like that is that you can start creating your own work and creating a buzz for yourself in that identity. Um, but as far as just like the industry as a whole, there are getting to be more roles, and people are being more confident in themselves as queer people to be like, I'm to say I am queer, but I also play straight roles too, or I am queer and I'm not gonna do that. I think it's just honestly up to you to make that decision to say like I'm not gonna do that. And I've had friends who either said that and have left the industry, or said that and have thrived, and have said that and still kind of figuring out work for themselves. It just all depends on, well, first of all, you're gonna be okay no matter what. No matter what decision you make, you're gonna be fine. And I think that's the biggest fear, to be like, how am I gonna make it? You're gonna be fine, regardless, first and foremost. Secondly, again, it's just about your decision to say, I'm going to do that, or I'm not. I don't have a problem with it, so I'm going. That's what I do. I wish I could do more queer work. I was talking to my manager not too long ago, and I was just like, I've never really done a lot of queer work, and I think
You haven't.
I
Yeah,
think that's
you
a
haven't.
me thing. And we're learning more as I continue to learn more about myself and being more self-aware. Um, I think that I am now ready and to be in that space, and not and be confident in that space, if that makes sense. Um, and so I would love to do more of that. And like I said, there's more on it with mainstream, with P Valley and Pose, especially BIPOC queer uh,
Right. Yeah,
marriages.
that to be a black male who's gay is a whole nother. We could unpack that for an hour and a half. So yeah, yeah,
But yeah, there are more opportunities out there.
right.
So don't fret. And again, if whatever you decide, you're gonna be fine. It's okay to create your own lane, because we now have that opportunity to do so. You think of, I mean, she's not a queer woman, but she's a black woman. But Issa Rae, coming from freaking, I used to watch her thing. I used to watch her little series in college,
Right.
Aqua Black Girl, and now she's like running HBO. Um, so don't ever. I don't think anyone should ever feel like they don't have any lane at all. Because if you don't, create your own, honey, because it's out there.
I think that's a really important message. Okay, well, we're a little past the halfway point. Why don't we start to open this up to them? Before we do that, is there anything else you wanted to share with them in particular? Words of wisdom, Ian Coulter Buford moments that you want to make sure that we don't get lost in the conversation, that you needed to hear maybe when you were here,
Mhm.
or you needed to hear as a young performer that you didn't hear. Because I will say, that's the goal. The reason I bring guests in that are all very different is because you all have a different point of view. So I want to make sure you're saying those things.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me that was really hard was that um, start creating your life schedule now.
Mhm.
When you graduate, things will literally stop. And then you're like, wait, what? So for 16 years, I've been in school and I've had a structured schedule every single day. And now I can do whatever I want to, which is great, but also dangerous. So especially seniors, like, okay, what does my life look like after this? Like, I guess I'll have school and everything, but like putting together a schedule for yourself now, or just like, okay, like this is what I see myself, my day to day kind of looking like. Like, Scott, first of all, auditions class. I think it was auditions. I loved that plan. I think it was like a 6 month plan or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I'm gonna do that with them. We haven't got it to yet. Yes, we will still
Okay.
do our 3, 6, 9. We'll do our planning.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It helps because I've learned that I am a very structured person. I didn't think that, but I am very adamant about my structure. And if I don't have any structure, nothing's gonna get done. And so having that for yourself before is probably half the battle, because then you don't get lost it's so easy to get out here. I'm speaking from a New York perspective, but it's so easy to get out here and get lost in regards to like the partying and get, because there's so many distractions. Now I don't know what it's going to be, but like post pandemic, but this is just from when I got out here. But excuse me. Yeah, so it's easy to just get wrapped up in it all. And so creating a schedule for yourself can help you create boundaries. That's the hugest thing, creating boundaries and saying, no, I'm not gonna do this, bruh. Like I got an audition tomorrow morning. I gotta go. Love you. Well, peace out. I think one of my mentors, he told me, I think that which has I think helped me a lot. He said, you're coming out here to work. You're not coming out here to party. You're coming out
Right.
to work. If you want to go out home, he said, if you want to party, you come back home to St. Louis and you're doing it for cheaper. And so I think that was like a thing for me because I was like, I'm not going back home. That's the last thing that I want to do. That's not what I want to do. And so I think that kind of pushed a little fear into me to be like, okay, you came into work. Let's work. Let's focus on that. And also save your money. Save your money.
Oh, we
Figure
like a good
out
message of fiscal responsibility as well.
figure out your budget. Like we have Google now, we have all of these things. If you want to have a financial moment for yourself, if you see a couple friends out in New York and say like, because Kevin was mine. Kevin was like, bruh, you can't be giving your money to all the homeless people because you won't have any and you'll be homeless yourself. So but just having that group of friends to just be real with you. Find that group of friends. That's the last thing. Find that real group of friends who will tell you the real deal. Not somebody who would blow smoke up your butt, but somebody who's going to be like, you're being a real dick right now. And maybe you should reevaluate yourself. That's happened to me once to be like, oh wow, I need to chill out. Or whatever. But finding those real group of friends who will tell you the truth.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna go to gallery view so I can see everybody.
Everybody's so beautiful. Yes.
They're
Hello.
looking, they're looking a little awake today, which is not always the case on Zoom.
I get it.
But okay, so who would like to ask Ian a question? Okay, Julie Cosette is a junior BFA actor.
Hey, Julie.
Hi, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So my question is about when you didn't have an agent, like how did you go about getting auditions, making connections in those auditions, being at the same level as those who did have an agent and like managing that like confusing kind of lifestyle?
That moment. Yeah. I had to really think about myself. You are a business. I had to have that mindset. And so that and then being bold. I don't recommend this. Please don't recommend this. I don't recommend this, but like I really wanted it. I'm a bold person. I think Scott can attest to this. But
amen to Ian being bold.
Yes, I'm a very bold person, but nobody's gonna give it to you. And I'm not saying like you have to take it, but you have to definitely say that you want it and say like I want this. But anyway, but it's just all about like, hey, I saw that you were doing being the research inspector gadget and saying like, okay, I think I got into Beautiful without an agent. And I had an audition for them when they were on Broadway. And I was just like, I saw that you were doing Beautiful for the tour. I found Steven's email out of somewhere. I don't even remember, but I did the research and I was like, okay, cool. Steven's doing this. He's the casting director. Hi, Steven. This is Ian Coulter Buford. I just came off of this learning how to write a cover letter, like just simple things like that. I took this like Craigslist class from a stunt woman, and she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about like just the business and just like finding little different classes here and there to just free things that in the city to just help you sculpt you as a business person, because you have to remember you are a business person. You are over your entity. You are an entrepreneur, and you're doing this by yourself until you start getting your team. Then and even then, you're still the owner of that entrepreneur. You're still giving 90%, even though they may be also giving whatever, but you're still over that, if that makes any sense. But it's just about being bold, doing the research, knowing what's going on in the industry. I remember Scott saying in auditions class, it was classes in general, playbill, backstage. You should be knowing what's going on every single day in the industry because you never know when your next tip, especially when you're by yourself, because you're the only eyes that are seeing it. What's going on? You know, I'm like, oh, they're doing Beautiful's going on the second tour. Let me, you know what I mean? So all that to be long-winded to just say, do the research, be bold. Don't be afraid to be bold, because the worst they can say is no, and that's okay. If they do say no, then move on.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm a big one now that they're juniors. They really need to know what's going on in the world. Granted, there's not a lot going on, but there's still a lot you can read and get used to.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
those
just
trades.
even updates on what's going on with the industry with these
Right.
pop-up performances, what's going on, TV and film. Like a lot of people got money now because they've been saving, so
Right.
people are producing little projects, things here and there. So, and
Well,
then
and just see how the unions are dealing with this and understanding unions and understand what's going on and how do we think it's going to open. I think it's a good time to get in the habit of keeping an eye on the things that are global, that are outside of the bubble of Wesleyan.
I agree.
Okay, I think who else had their hand up? Who was okay? So Lily had her hand up. Lily is a senior BFA actor.
Where's Lily? Where's she at?
Hi, I'm up here.
Oh, you're over there. Got it. Got it.
So I have a question about like those Actors Access and Backstage websites. So like, I know you have to like pay monthly like membership fees, and I'm just wondering like, how do you know if it's worth it? Just because it's like I've had to pay for catacall auditions, and it took a lot of money because I had to get a hotel room, and then I had to pay like the registration fee, and then I just don't get jobs from catacalls necessarily because I like the only person there that doesn't sing and isn't like a dancer. I got a call back for one thing for a mover audition, and I didn't get the job. But
congratulations, though, you still got that call back.
I know, I was surprised because I didn't actually get it at the catacall itself. They like sent me an email, so I was like, oh, that was nice. But in general, like, how do you know which one is like worth for the subscriptions? Like, how do you know if you're gonna get a job? I know it's a risk, but like,
no, but
I took so many risks.
You have to think about it as not being a risk but an investment, because especially when you're by yourself, because agencies, they use Actors Access, and Actors Access, as far as I know, you don't necessarily, you have to pay the $2 submission fee, but you don't necessarily have to pay the year round subscription. So that's a little, I guess, better. Backstage, you can still see what I used to do when I didn't have any money. I would see backstage posts, so in the beginning, you look at the title of whatever it is, then you see like the producers or a company or something of that sort to say who's producing it. Go to their website, type them into Google. They'll probably have the same thing with more information where you can contact them, or even say, okay, hey guys, I saw you were doing this. I saw that you were having a yes, loopholes. I saw that you were having an audition for this. Here's my blah 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 resume, and then you don't have to pay. But I think Backstage is a great resource, and Actors Access is a great resource. So think of it as not a risk, first of all, as an investment, because it is an investment into your future, but also
well, and you know, I would help you out with that. Just say that I think that if you added up the amount of money you spend at Starbucks versus the money you have to pay for a monthly subscription to figure out how to do your job and to get access to all the information you need, it's well worth it. And it is, to answer Angie's question in the chat, tax deductible. And that is one of those things that you can throw in there as you get enough tax deductions to make it worthwhile. Right now, y'all early career are often falling into the maximum deduction is what you're taking. But you will find over time that you especially if you're in New York or you're in LA or you're in Chicago and you really are working most of the time, you need to also invest in having a good accountant. But so I think that I do think that these kinds of expenses, it's like, you know, your hair and your gym and yes, well yes, okay.
We'll pull back on the marks, okay, Lily?
Yeah, so you just got to kind of have to slow up. Like I do think that you and your as you figure this out, I think this Ian can attest to this, that as you kind of live your life and start to figure out your financial health, you figure out these things just become part of it. Like my union dues, I don't even feel them. They just come, you know, like I'm just used to that's been such a part of my life for such a long time that it's not like the very first time you're like, I have to pay that much to be in this union. After that, you just get, that's just there. And that it just kind of absorbs. It's like living in New York. You suddenly like you get here and you go, wait, that's all I have to spend on this coffee? Because in New York, I spent this. Or, oh, this is what it costs to go out to eat dinner. I mean, you just become very accustomed to the things that you have to do.
Very true. I agree.
I think next up was Alexis Jones. She is a junior BFA
What's up,
music theater major.
Alexis?
Hi, Ian.
Chi-Chi.
So my question for you is, what advice do you have for specifically young BIPOC students going out, but young Black women?
Oh, beautiful. Ugh. I think we're just speaking from a Black male perspective. I definitely think it's just like finding your Facebook groups are so amazing. You wouldn't, again, like when I was in school, we were still trying to, or when I was first graduated, we were still trying to figure out what Facebook was. But there's the Black Undergraduate Theater Collective. There's so many groups that people have created to create community before you even get out to where you are. And so I think that's like if I only had that, that would have been amazing. But I mean, you know, you and then auditions and things like that. You're gonna literally see the same people over and over again because y'all are the same type, or just because you're Black and it's a Black show, you're gonna see the same people over and over again. It's such a small world. You wouldn't, especially for the BIPOC community. And if you want to go even further, music theater. And so you're gonna see the same people over and over again once we get going, of course. But right now you could add yourself to those groups. Hey y'all, I think I might be moving to New York. Who's out there, or who might be moving to New York? I'm in Chicago, or I'm in the Bloomington area. Who's, you know, so it's great to create that community before you even go to where you're gonna go, before you even graduate. Does that answer the question? Okay.
Well, I will say, and Ian, you have some big hitter friends within the particularly the Black musical theater Broadway community. Like you've been able to work with some pretty big names from my generation who have become friends and have become mentors. One of the things I love that I think is an advantage of being a BIPOC student is that community is pretty tight and they are all about lifting up the next generation. And so that there's actually, I think, well, you could speak to that, but I feel like you've gotten a lot of love from certain people.
Actually my roommate, she and I were having this conversation because she's the generation before me, and we were having this conversation in regards to the upliftment of the upcoming generation, because she's like, my generation, we're not about it was real competition as far as like auditioning and the industry in general. It's very competitive, and I think that we are like, there's no reason to do all that. We will when it's your job, it's your job. And I just think that that's just been the thing, and that we've rubbed off on the generation before us. And the generation before us, and they under our wings. And I personally, it's just for me, I don't like to see a lot of people struggle. I don't like to see, if I can help somebody give a little leg up to say like, hey honey, I went through this. Don't waste your time going through this. Here, this is that. And I think that that's starting to trickle down or trickle up also from the generation before us and then coming through to y'all, if that makes any sense. But yeah.
I think that's good. Okay, next up I think is Justine. Justine's a junior BFA music theater major as well.
Hi, Justine.
Hi.
So this blonde, is that blonde?
Yes, you know, I did a little honey blonde.
Okay. You gotta do look, yes.
Okay, so my question is, do you think it's wise to like move to a big city right after graduating college? And then if not, how do you avoid getting stuck in one area?
That's great. That's a great question. Fortunately for me, I had something to bring me out there, but I knew I wanted to go to New York. to be honest, I think I've been the most ready I've ever been when I graduated school to jump to the city, because why everything was set, everything was the notes, everything was just set. And I always think about like, man, I wish I had just kind of like hit the audition pavement as soon as I got out of school, just to kind of see the progress I would have had. Again, that's me. You may not feel that way, but I felt very ready to go. Then, so it all just depends on how you feel when you graduate, one, and then being stuck. For me, um, I'm all about deadlines. I'm all about like giving myself like and talking to myself. If you talk to yourself, that's okay. I'm all about just like, no, we're not, I don't want to be here. This is, I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to set a goal of being here for a year, save up my money, and then I'm gone because I don't want to be here. So it's just about that mindset and really making sure you holding yourself accountable to say, I don't want to be here. I'm here for the moment. It's just for a moment. And then I think it's what it Scott always was like. It's about the journey. It's about the journey. And I've held that forever. And it's not about the quick destination. Yes, a lot of these people are getting these like quick things. Yes, but you also have to realize like some of these people have been working for 10, 15 years at this quick moment that you think was quick because you now know them. But yeah, it's just about the journey. So don't think about the destination, not just this moment. This moment is just a moment. The moment in the woods. It's just a moment in the woods, and you'll get to Granny's house after that.
It's funny because I used to say to your generation, and actually all the way up to the pandemic, I was like, my one rule is don't go home. Now it's okay to go home because of the pandemic. Yes. But I think that the thing I would always say to you guys, which you are to y'all, that you folks that you took to heart was have a plan. There's no problem with going home. There's no problem with going to some market that you don't want to be in, but have a plan. Have a set, like I'm going home because I'm going to raise this much money, because I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do that thing. Yeah. I'm doing it because I'm having surgery, or I'm taking care of this problem, or I need to have this thing happen. But I will say, I love that you said this, Ian, because I do believe this. They are the most ready to figure out the next step upon graduation. It is a natural transition, just like you had that natural transition coming out of high school to go to college. And whether you took the gap year or didn't or whatever, it still was an organic transition where you're going from one existence to another. There's a natural, huge seismic shift that happens post-college, that if you're gonna rip the Band-Aid off and go for it, go for it. And I will also say the great thing about New York City right now is it is the cheapest it will ever be. So take advantage of that pandemic and low rents, because they're not going to last long.
Yeah.
No. Everyone I know, Jason Robert Brown and Georgia just bought a house. Everyone I know is buying a house now. They can never afford a house. The one silver lining of the pandemic is real estate and all that.
Cheap right now. I was talking to a couple of seniors, and we were talking about housing. And it's take advantage of it while you can. Don't not come here because of fear. If that's the only reason, just jump over that. But if it's out of your safety or something of that sort, obviously do what you have to do. But I think had I not had the tour coming right out, I would have definitely just and I wish I kind of done that just to kind of see like what if that would have changed my trajectory a little bit. But it's okay. We here. We happy. We safe.
Okay, who's next? I think we have time for two more. Michael McNeela is a junior theater. Yeah. Oh, that's right. He was in Life. So you met.
Yeah. Hey. So I was wondering how often people ask you when you're auditioning for some kind of performance reel as opposed to just doing self-tapes when you're out there auditioning. So like stuff from you like dancing in shows or just like acting and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I understand that question now. Well, right now it's very important because then there's nobody auditioning in the room. But I mean, I think that what the pandemic is teaching everybody, that we don't necessarily have to be in the room to grab what we need. And I think they're going to be a bigger thing now than ever before. And so, you know, trying to think. I think with recommendations, it's happened to be like, hey, I know this guy Ian, he's amazing, and to be like, hey, and it's a great talking point also to just have something. Because when I was by myself, didn't have an agent, and I was, hey, hey Steven, I heard you were doing beautiful. Here's my reel, just to even start the conversation and to say like, oh, he's worth bringing in for an audition. So I think you definitely just need to have one. I mean, my agent is getting on me now to be like, okay, this is old. Let's find something new. So I think it's always useful to have, even if it's just a conversation starter, or to just get you to the next. It's all about just getting to the next step in the audition process. So I think it's definitely very useful, if that makes sense.
One more question.
Dylan.
Dylan Holt over there as a junior music theater.
Yes.
Hello, Ian.
Hi, Dylan. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So you talked about scheduling a little bit and getting to know you, hearing about you through the life and talking to you now. You seem like a person who works hard and plays hard. I'm the same way, except I might play a little hard. But I was wondering, when you graduated, how did you balance work in general, whether it be music theater or actual like side gigs, to like taking your time, relaxing for yourself? How did you balance that? How did you find it out? What were some things that you did, like hobbies or any sort of thing like that?
That's beautiful. I think I'm still finding that out now, because I am a workhorse and I enjoy working, but I didn't know when to stop. And so now, even that, I think the pandemic was the mirror on me and saying like, bruh, you need to find what you need to do to make sure you're okay. But in the past, I just found things that I enjoy. Just like I love roller skating, so finding those things that, like in Central Park, they have roller skating on Saturdays when it's warmer, and so just going there and just saying, I'm going to do this for me. I think I said this earlier, setting boundaries for yourself and really making sure that you're holding yourself accountable for those boundaries, and just say like, no, like, yes, it sounds cool to go out, but like, no, I don't need to, really just being honest with yourself. Just like, again, you're out there to work, not to party. That was anytime somebody would call me and be like, what you doing? Let's go out. My mentor would be in my head. You're there to work and not to party. Do you have an audition tomorrow? Or is that Voce gonna be together? No? Okay, well then stay at home. So yeah, just finding that balance. But I'm still figuring that out for myself now. But finding things you love that bring you joy, holding yourself accountable, remembering that, again, this side gig, this side hustle, is just a moment. It's not what you came out here for, no, but you have to survive. You have to be a human. And so having that moment for yourself, I think it's just all about the mindset and really setting your mind up for success. That this is not your destination, this is just your moment right now, and that's okay. Yes, yeah.
I think that's an awfully good lesson for them to learn, and I think that's a good place for us to stop because we're almost at time. So Ian Coulter Buford, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate it. Let's all unmute and let's applaud Ian. We are so fortunate to have such amazing alums that are willing to come back and talk to us. And I've been trying to get a variety of people that are at different generations and different people that are having different experiences. So I really appreciate you coming back. I try to move it around and get different voices in here to talk to these guys. So you guys, you can visit Ian's website. And you could contact him through his website so we can give him as much traffic and love there as possible. And I'm sure he'd be more than willing to answer any questions.
Anytime, anytime. And if you're coming to New York, please hit me up. I literally just had like, what's her name? Jessica and Jared and Andy. Like, please hit me up, hit Kevin up. He's also a great source too.
Yep.
We're always down to just help ease the transition, always.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.